Well, remote closing, it's too saturated now. I guess it's time to quit, throw in the towel, on to the next business model. All right, so now that all the naysayers out of the room, let's talk about if remote closing really is too saturated or not in 2023.
Welcome to the Remote Closing Academy.
All right, what's going on? Aaron here from the Remote Closing Academy. And all jokes aside, I want to talk about this comment that I got a couple days ago. Someone saying, I'm afraid the market is going to get oversaturated with remote closers. So in this video, I want to not only dispel that myth, but also talk about why remote closing is so different from any other online business model that is saturated out there. I'm also going to give you some mindset shifts that you can make that will help you in every aspect of your life and ensure your success in anything that you do. And then also, I'm going to give you some tips that will help you land your first remote closing gig despite the rising competition in the industry. So guys, we're starting off hot here. First things first, I just want to get this idea of saturation, like the saturation mindset, out of the way. This is my personal belief. I honestly think there's no such thing as saturation because there's always going to be a way for someone to infiltrate a market if they are better, if they do something a little bit different than the previous person. So here's a little exercise I want you to do. Anytime that you think about the word saturation, I want you to change that to competition, right? You're competing with other people because if you put in enough work, if you do the things that you need to do, you will always become better than the next person. So instead of worrying about, oh no, like this industry is too saturated or too competitive, like that just gives you an excuse to not actually do the thing. So why not just make the decision that you are going to do everything you need to do to become the absolute best person in the remote closing industry? So I want to tell you a couple personal stories that will hopefully drive this home for you guys. So back a few years ago, I've talked about it a little bit on this channel, but when I decided to make my first business, which was a social media marketing agency or SMMA, I wanted to attack the real estate industry. And the reasons being, I knew a little bit about the industry and I also knew a couple connections and people that I could initially get started with. I kid you not, almost every single person I talked to that was in the marketing space and also even in my personal realm told me that I was silly, that I was fighting a losing fight because the real estate industry was just too saturated. Now, part of this might be my stubbornness and want to prove people wrong, but I went all the way into it. I went crazy and I made the decision that I was going to be successful. I told myself that I'm gonna do everything humanly possible to figure this out and not only succeed, but help as many real estate agents as possible in that process. So we created a completely different type of offer that really no one was doing at the time. We positioned it differently and grew to about $60,000 a month in only 4 months. Now, of course, I stopped running that business and did remote closing because it was just a lot of work, a lot of expenses, and wasn't really making anything after it was all said and done. But by most standards, we had seen success despite what everyone else had said. And even when creating this YouTube channel, there were so many naysayers saying, oh, YouTube is too saturated, you won't be able to grow that fast, blah, 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 blah. If I would have listened to those people, we wouldn't be talking. I wouldn't be talking to you, and you wouldn't be learning about remote closing and me potentially helping you change your life. And that's why I made the decision to make this channel. I just knew as long as I created content, as long as I showed up every single day and gave it my all, I knew we were going to make it. And because of all that, we've been able to hit over 10,000 subscribers, about 600 that was coming in the last 45 days, which I mean, is nuts, by the way. So if you're watching this, thank you so much for the support and helping us out. But again, if I would have let the saturation talk get in front of me, we wouldn't be talking today. Now, all these stories aside, next thing I want to break down is the misconception about remote closing being clustered in with these other business models, right? I think remote closing is paired up with them like these online businesses because it's easy for people to associate with things like Amazon FBA, drop shipping, things like that, but it really isn't connected at all. I was recently on the podcast and a question came up from the host and they said, how long do you think remote closing is going to be around? And that is where the misconception lies. Remote closing is what we call it because it's been a name that, people have stuck with, but at its core, all it is sales, the ability to highly communicate with other people, which is never going to go away. I mean, sales is one of the oldest professions. It's been around for thousands of years and will continue to be around for thousands more. And sales is also needed to be good at any of these other online businesses, right? It doesn't matter if you go after Amazon FBA, drop shipping, creating a social media marketing agency, at its core, you need to be good at sales. You need to be good at selling your product. You need to be good at writing the copy to make sure that those things are seeing success. So bottom line, if you understand remote closing, you will understand sales, and that means you will see success in anything that you do, especially if you want to start your own business down the road. Now, the last thing I want to touch on here, guys, before we jump too deep into the 3 tips I'm going to give you to overcome all your competition, is that you got to understand that saturation and competition is actually a good thing. But Aaron, how can it be a good thing? People are taking away my money. Well, competition and saturation, all that's telling you is that the market is actually validated. And I'll tell you another personal story here really quickly. So about a year ago, we started this channel, the Remote Closing Academy. At the time, there was almost no one talking about the topic. There was a couple people, but having those couple people on there, I knew that this was a validated topic. And there's a couple channels that are out there now, taking our titles, taking our content, taking the types of videos that we're making. I could look at that as saturation or competition, but again, them creating the videos is showing me that this is a valid market and something that people are actually looking into. So as long as I focus on me and focusing the best type of content, because they're making the remote closing content, they're just going to funnel more and more people over to our channel. So if I just strive to make the best content, we will inevitably come up on top because I understand that topic. So all those myths out of the way, let's talk about a few tips that I would give to help anyone start out in a crowded or a saturated market. So number one, and you've probably heard this one before, but you'll want to niche down. As remote closers, what that means is when you go out and apply for different offers, you want to make sure that it aligns with the things that you know. So for example, if you love health and wellness, right? You go to the gym all the time. Try and find a health and wellness offer that goes directly in what you're interested in. Not only is this going to align with you to help you get up every single day and actually help people do the same, but you will show up so much better in the interviews and your profiles will directly show the values that you live by. So if we're staying on that same example, let's say that you apply for a fitness offer. Inevitably, the owner of that company is going to go over to all of your social media profiles. They're going to check you out, right? If they see you grinding it out every single day at the gym, you're posting in your stories, you have weight loss pictures and you're bettering yourself, you better believe that the owner is going to hire you over so many other people because you are living in alignment, in full alignment with what their offer stands for. And again, it's going to make you excited, it's going to make you fulfilled and be really just ready to wake up every single day knowing that you are on the right path. Number two is you need to make the decision that you are going to see success. Now, this isn't like a manifestation thing saying like, oh yeah, I'm the best and I'm, it's just going to happen. That's not going to work. You're going to have to put in the work, do all your mock calls, do the role plays, put in the reps, do the things you need to do. Because remember, this is a you versus you game, not you versus another person. Because if you put in the work and you do that every single day, you'll always come up on top. And number three is you need to fully live by an abundance and not a scarcity mentality. So here's the thing. There are tens of thousands of offers out there, guys. If each of those offers, let's say they were looking for, 5 remote closers, that's 5, 10, 15, 20, 50,000 companies that need remote closers. So saying that this is too competitive or saturated, like you can literally be in the 1% and you're still gonna get placed in a remote closing gig because there's so many people out there. To give you a direct example, our B2B company at the Remote Closing Academy, we're helping other businesses obviously grow their sales teams and stuff like that. They are consistently coming to us, hey, can we get more closers? Can we get more setters? And we can't supply them fast enough. We can't teach people fast enough. So just know that no matter what, if you put in that work, if you do the things you need to do, you are going to get placed. Now, one more little side story, and I promise I'm done. One of the previous videos, I got a message from someone that was watching the podcast. They came through a program. Within 3 weeks, they had already went into the pipeline, which is essentially looking for a new gig. A couple days ago, he messaged me and saying in that 3-week period, he not only learned the whole process, he put in the work, he did what he needed to do, and now he's within the Remote Closing Academy team, which I'll let you guys know, we're one of the hardest teams to actually become a part of because our standards are so high. So understand that it's possible if you're doing the things you need to do, it will come to fruition, and he is a personal testament of that. As long as you focus on the right things, you will ultimately see success, I promise. Now, I know this video was a little bit different than others that you've seen on this channel, but I wanted to make sure to break through all those limiting beliefs before they got the best of you. Now that you're ready to hit the ground running, click the video on the screen now to check out the step-by-step process of landing your first $20,000 a month remote closing gig, where to find the companies, how to apply for them, the entire thing. So check out the video on screen. We'll see you guys over there.